We arrive at the lake at about 10 in the morning. Julian had driven down over an hour to pick us up before driving to Carl's house. Carl wasn't ready when we got there, and when he answered the door, his eyes were bleary and red. It took him a good 20 minutes to get ready, and all the while I struggle not to glare at him. It's weird. I've been friends with the Ram for almost my entire life, and it's only now that I'm feeling real disgust for the person that he is. So many self-created problems. He keeps his head down most of the time, so he doesn't see me. He's still feeling sick, too. So he opts to ride in the truck bed all the way down, and Jenna sits with him. I can't help but wonder what might happen if we have an accident. TJ sits next to me, and this time I'm sure to sit in the middle so that Julian is on my left and TJ is on my right. Feels better this way. As the lake comes into view, I rest a paw on TJ's knee. He glances at me, then nods in acknowledgement. I give his thigh a squeeze, then wait as we pull into the parking lot, going over the scenarios in my head for what might happen. Well, here we are. We don't say anything in response as we quietly get out of the truck. Jenna jumps out of the truck bed easily, but Carl struggles, and I imagine him falling straight out and face-planting into the asphalt. Jenna helps him, though, and then we're all walking down the trail toward the lake, single file. I walk right behind TJ, though, so I can keep an eye on him and anyone else that might try to fuck with him. Wow, it's been 12 years since I've been down here. Yeah. There's a cool freshness to the air by the lake. I breathe it in and get hit with the sweet memories of spending entire days down here. Swimming in the lake, building sandcastles, looking at dead fish on the beach. As we start walking on the beach and approach the big boulder, I feel my heart start to hammer in my chest. I pick up my speed to catch up to TJ. How are you feeling? I'm okay. You don't sound okay. I'm nervous. We all are. I actually feel like I'm going to throw up. Yeah. TJ suddenly reaches out his paw and holds mine. I'm surprised. TJ's never done this before, and though I know it's probably due to the situation we're in, it still makes me feel warm inside. It's going to be okay. I know it. This is going to be the end. TJ's voice breaks up on the last word. The end? The end of what, exactly? TJ's guilt over Sydney? The mystery over what exactly happened to him? Of the world as we know it? Yeah, that's probably it. Because I know that after this morning, things are never going to be the same again. Just remember that if it's buried by that boulder, it's probably gone by now. I know I've said that every time before, but the lake has flooded a few times since. I look up at the steep, rocky bank on our right. Remember that spring that it went all the way up to the road? Yeah. I look back at our friends. Jenna's walking side by side with Carl, talking to him in a low voice. Julian is ahead of them, and he's looking directly at me. I look away. I'm just saying that even if it's there, it's probably water damaged to the point that we won't be able to read it. TJ stays silent just as we come up on the rock, sitting there on the beach like it has since I can remember. Probably like it has since the lake was even created. TJ still holds my paw as Julian, Jenna, and Carl stand next to us. The five of us in a sort of semicircle around the boulder. Well, here we are. Julian says the exact same thing he said in the parking lot, and I feel myself starting to get annoyed. But I cling to TJ's paw, and that calms me down a little. So, if it's still here, it could be anywhere. Knowing Sydney, Jenna says his name carefully. He'd probably leave a marker of some kind. This one could be hard to find.
Remember that he said it's by Carl's drawing. It'd probably be right next to that.
Oh, I don't know, guys. The other ones were inside of something. This is just out on a beach. The sand's changing all the time.
Carl digs at the damp sand with a hoof. His paw is shoved into his pockets, eyes downcast. Everything okay, Carl? I say it sharply, not bothering to filter out the annoyance in my voice. He looks up at me, a bit surprised.
Huh? Yeah, I'm okay. I just feel sicker from the ride down.
Smoke too much? Carl frowns.
No, I just get sick sometimes when I'm stressed out. The weed makes me feel less sick, actually.
I stop myself from asking what it is he's so stressed out about.
Are you okay, Chase?
I'm good. I shouldn't be drawing attention to myself right now. Meanwhile, Julian is walking around the boulder, looking for the drawing. TJ lets go of my paw finally and starts to walk around the boulder from the other side. Almost immediately, he points excitedly.
Oh, Carl! You're drawing!
Carl sidles up to him before chuckling quietly.
Oh, yeah. For some reason, I thought it'd be gone by now.
Why would it be? You chipped it into the rock. Didn't you spend, like, a month doing that? Carl looks down at his paws.
Yeah. Poked my paws up doing it, too.
I move around to stand next to them and see the rough outline of a muscular wolf with a long cape. Super Wolf. Carl had been obsessed with that superhero since the new movie was coming out that summer. I don't think he liked it very much because right after he saw it, he stopped working on the etching. It's actually pretty good. Especially when you consider that Carl was like 9 when he did it. I pushed those memories out of my head, wiping out the smiling childhood face of Carl from my mind. Then I still myself, preparing for what I'm going to say and for what's about to happen. Hey, look at the sand underneath it. Everyone looks down in unison at where I'm pointing my finger. I let it sink in for a moment before I say it. The dirt. It looks like someone dug it up recently. No one says anything. Or maybe the sand's just wetter there. I don't know. TJ kneels down next to the boulder, reaching out a paw to steady himself against it as Julian kneels down across from him. He reaches out with the other paw, poking at the loose-looking dirt, slightly darker than the sand around it. Still, no one says anything, and I decide not to push it further, knowing that I've already planted a seed of doubt in TJ's mind. We should have grabbed a gardening shovel from your house, Carl.
Yeah.
I pick up the flat rock I used last night. Here. I hand it to Julian. He looks at it for a second before digging the sharp end into the dirt. It sinks in deep and easily before the stag turns out the sand. Less than a minute later, TJ gasps and reaches into the shallow hole, pulling out the lunchbox. Now that there's daylight, I can see the chipped green paint on the dragon. TJ holds it for a moment, staring down at it. Julian looks around at us. Was that Sydney's? I can't remember, but TJ nods and with shaky hands unlatches the metal clasps. Carl stands further back than the rest of us, motionless. Jenna once again has a paw up to her mouth, not saying anything. TJ opens the lid. The hinges squeak a little as the tin lid flops open, revealing my note. Paws still shaking, TJ reaches in. At this point, there's little hesitation in TJ's movements. He's eager to find out what it says, eager to get this done. TJ unfolds the note, then reads it. He doesn't read it aloud, instead letting his eyes go back and forth over the page while the rest of us wait. I know at this point that he's finished reading it, but he still doesn't say anything, eyes glued to the page. TJ? TJ doesn't say anything, continuing to stare. TJ? What does it say? TJ sits there for a few more seconds before he wordlessly holds out the note to no one in particular. His face is blank for the most part, but I can see the shock in his eyes. Julian takes it from him and starts reading. You've reached the end, but I don't have the answer, so I'll ask again. TJ, what happened to Sydney? The silence that follows is one of the heaviest that I've ever experienced. Carl's still frozen, but now he's looking up at Julian. Jenna's moved her paw from her mouth at this point, but she's clutching her necklace, her eyes on TJ. Julian is just staring at the links, waiting, probably unsure of what any of this means. TJ, meanwhile, stares at the hole that we dug up, his paws laying limp in his lap, ears drooping. I start walking over to him. What does it mean? Do you guys know? I rest my paw on TJ's shoulder, touching it softly. He doesn't move. I crouch down next to him, slowly wrapping an arm around his shoulders, drawing him in. I can feel him trembling. Guys? I look over at Julian with a sad look on my face. We have a friend who has a grudge about this whole thing. I think he might have been the one leaving the notes. TJ shakes his head against me, but he doesn't say anything. Julian stares. But why? I shrug, beginning to stroke the top of TJ's head. Julian looks from me to TJ. I don't know. Maybe he thought that this was his last chance to hurt TJ somehow. I don't really know. Jenna and Carl have walked up to stand next to us and both seem to be at a loss for words. This paper is different, though. TJ's voice is distant and faint, muffled against my chest. There are ways to make paper look old. Maybe he just didn't have time with this one. Julian shakes his head. Listen, I know I've only been a part of this for a day, but this is crazy. And those are a lot of assumptions. Do you really know what happened? If you knew this friend of ours like we do, you'd understand how obvious this is. But then Jenna shakes her head as well. No. No, Flynn wouldn't do this. He's a jerk. But he wouldn't do this. You know that Flynn's been sending TJ threatening texts all week, and that he's been out to fuck with TJ since we got here. Jenna shakes her head again, but doesn't say anything.
He wouldn't.
I snap my gaze at Carl, glaring.
Dude, even at his worst, he'd never do something like this. It's too fucked up. All of that work just to fuck with us? It has to do with Sydney? No.
And who found the first note? Who's been Flynn's best friend since we all left?
Whoa, Chase!
Carl's eyes go wide. TJ finally lifts his head, looking up at Carl. You're the one that gave it to us. Set us off on this whole bullshit scavenger hunt. Carl takes a step back, mouth hanging open, looking at me like I'm some sort of alien or something. This whole thing was fucking crazy from the start. Our dead friend who left notes behind a decade ago, and somehow it's all still here? In the school? In the house? Fuck that. Chase, stop it. Jenna's voice is soft and distant, lacking any sort of authority. I stand up suddenly, staring the ram down. Whoa, how? No! Carl takes another step back and I can see his chest heaving. He can't even get his words out. It's like he's just run a marathon and can't catch his breath. Huh?
I don't.
Carl clutches his chest and I can't help but notice how fucking guilty he looks right now. He suddenly retches and gags loudly. Carl, breathe. No! You can't use your fucking anxiety. I make air quotes. Monster. As a shield right now? Did Flynn put you up to this? Carl retches again and doubles over, spitting on the ground. Carl. Jenna starts walking toward the ram, but at that moment something rushes past me, then past Jenna. I have a moment to see TJ's back. His tufted ears are laid flat against his head, like he's moved so fast that the wind has pushed them back. There's another quick movement that I can't quite see from my angle. But then Carl's stumbling back, a paw to his face, letting out a gasp like he's been holding his breath for 10 minutes. I lunge forward, reaching out for TJ as the cat goes in for another swipe. Carl jumps back toward the embankment, and as he does, he lands on the many rocks that separate the beach from the road. I grab the back of TJ's shirt just to see Carl's hoof disappear between the rocks. Then Carl falls back. There's a sound like a thick branch snapping in two, cutting through the air like a gunshot. Immediately, Carl lets out the most hideous scream I've ever heard the ram make. No! Jenna runs past us, followed by Julian at a more even jog. Meanwhile, I hold on to TJ, the lynx still going after Carl, making a yowling sound as his claws swipe at the air, baring his teeth. He's wild, feral, not thinking at all. TJ! TJ! Stop! I'm here! I'm here! I try talking into the lynx's ear. At the same time, I feel him starting to go limp in my grasp, the energy and rage slowly going out of him. I finally feel safe enough to turn him around, pulling him into a hug. It's okay. Got him. You're fine. TJ looks toward Carl one last time, watching the ram roll back and forth on his back, choking, howling, and screaming all at once. Oh my God. Oh my God. TJ suddenly turns his face into my chest and starts to cry. Jesus! His ankle! Carl, can you move, Ken? But Carl isn't listening, continuing to scream and hyperventilate at the same time. Call an ambulance! I don't know who she's talking to, but Julian pulls out his phone. TJ continues to sob into my chest, and I start to move away toward the trail, pulling TJ with me. I'm taking TJ back to the motel. Yes! Leave! Please! Jenna snarls at me over her shoulder. Hi, we need paramedics. Yeah, someone here tripped and broke his leg, and no, he can't get up. Carl, I know it hurts, but you need to breathe. I'm going to count. Jenna's voice fades away as I start fast walking toward the trail, pulling the sobbing TJ along with me. TJ finally pulls away from me when we reach the parking lot and starts walking ahead, hugging himself. I follow behind him at a close distance, listening to him sob for a while. It isn't until we reach the road that he's finally calmed down enough to stop sobbing. I walk quietly behind him for a little bit longer before finally catching up, walking next to him. He doesn't say anything and goes on hugging himself, hiccuping softly every once in a while. I wonder if I should say anything, ask him about what happened, or even change the subject completely. Eventually, though, he's the one to speak first. I didn't mean to. He cuts off as he goes into a coughing fit. I rub him on the back gently. It's okay. You don't have to explain yourself after what he did. Do you think? TJ takes a deep breath, finally steadying his words. Do you think he really did that? I let the silence drag out a moment before finally replying. Who else could it have been? I completely understand why you went along with all of those notes. In the end, this was the only realistic conclusion we were going to get to. Yeah. I just didn't think they'd do something like this. Especially Carl. TJ says Carl's name softly. I still don't know if he did it. But then I remembered what he said when we played Spin the Bottle. Like it had to be him. I was just so angry. I've never been so angry in my life. It was scary. I mean, maybe Flynn didn't tell him everything about what was going on? I guess he could have been tricked into thinking Flynn somehow had good intentions in all of this. I don't know. His leg. TJ covers his face like he's about to start crying again. I quickly put my arm around him and hold him close. Hey, this isn't your fault. Honestly, he deserved that scratch you gave him. He fell on his own. TJ shakes his head. I can't. I can't even remember what happened. I just started running at him like I was in control. It was like it was all automatic or something. Him too. TJ. I stop the links and turn him toward me, even though he keeps covering up his face. This is not your fault. What Flynn and Carl did to you is absolutely disgusting, and honestly, I'm surprised that you were able to hold yourself back as much as you did. But the sounds he was making, it was so awful. TJ's face screws up under his paws. I hug him again. No. He only had a taste of the pain you're feeling on the inside. Now stop thinking about him. It's over. This whole thing is over. DJ starts crying softly again. I hold him closer, letting him get it out of his system. Over his shoulder, I can see the ambulance lights flashing, though they don't have the siren on. Thankful for that, at least. My phone buzzes in my pocket a few times, but I ignore it, waiting until the Link's soft sobs taper out. I turn him away from the lake so he doesn't see the lights, and we keep walking slowly up the road. Less than a mile away, the motel sign glints in the sunlight. DJ shuffles along, continuing his quiet sniffling. Did you want to leave today? I don't know. Maybe. Well, let's get back to the motel and sit down for a while, okay? Then we can decide what we want to do. Okay. DJ's breathing evens out again as we get closer to the motel. But, why do you think Flynn would do that? It doesn't make any sense. I shrug. Well, like I said yesterday, I think now that he knows he isn't going to get the answer he wants, he's just out to hurt us now. That's it, really. You were right. I guess I just didn't think he could be capable of that. I mean, you always see the best in people. There's nothing wrong with that. DJ doesn't respond, and we're silent the rest of the way there. The first thing TJ does when we get inside is lay on the bed and stare at the ceiling. I check my texts and see that they're all from Jenna. They say Carl just broke his ankle and that he's going to be fine. Julian is driving me to the hospital so we can sit with Carl and bring him back when they're done. By the way, when they asked Carl what happened, he said he just slipped on a rock and fell. He said that's where the scratch came from, too. I assume he doesn't want us to tell anyone about what happened. You should think about checking out early. I'm probably going to a friend's house in Peyton after this. I stare at the last text, wondering what exactly it means. She's going to a friend's house and that's just it? Almost sounds like she's just done with us. I guess one good thing came out of this, then. Carl's going to be fine. He told the paramedics that he slipped on a rock, so I don't think he's going to be, pressing charges or anything. TJ covers his face, and I hope he isn't about to cry again. But when he talks, his voice is steady and even. Going to have to see him before we leave. I don't want to leave this town like this. Sounds defeated. Like he knows things are now ruined beyond any sort of repair. I suddenly feel a wave of compassion and love for the Lynx, the one purely good person in this shit town. I get up and drape myself over the bed next to TJ. He looks up in surprise, ears perked and twitching, his tufts waving around in the most adorable way. Listen, I know we can't just forget what happened back there, and I think we can't just fix everything, but I pause and wait until TJ looks up at me. I want to spend the rest of this weekend together and just have fun. There's not really much else we can do. TJ looks back up at the ceiling. But what about your project? I laugh. Dude, that doesn't happen anymore. I'll just retake the class over the summer or something. That doesn't sound good. I don't want to cause you to fail. You're not. I'm making this decision. DJ continues to stare at the ceiling, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. I don't know. It doesn't feel right. I just broke Carl's leg. Carl fell and broke his leg, TJ. No, I did it. Things are so messed up now. His voice starts to go up high again, and I quickly put a paw on his shoulder. Shh. We can't think about that anymore. It's over. I rub his shoulder comfortingly. You know what? Let's go to Peyton. Get out of this crappy town and do something. Okay? TJ lets out a shuddery sigh. Maybe. I just need a minute. Okay. I roll over and look out the window through the blinds, feeling like I've accomplished something. Things went a bit further than I'd planned on, but it's working out for the best. My main issue now is figuring out what the hell Flynn and Carl were planning with all of that bullshit, and what all they know. Assuming it had been them at all, but as of right now, I can't imagine who else it could have been. I feel a little guilty about what happened to Carl, but I had to show everyone how stupid and crazy the whole thing was. And just then, I see Flynn's truck roll into the parking lot. I tense up, staring in disbelief. What the hell reason would he have to come here? I'm only frozen up for a moment before I suddenly swing my legs off the bed. I don't know if TJ's looking. I hope not as I start closing the blinds. I'll close these so the sun isn't shining in your eyes, and I'm going to make a call to Jenna to make sure things are going all right, okay? I look back and I'm relieved to see TJ only now looking over at me. Okay. Tell her I'm sorry. I will. Now, get some rest. I try not to look like I'm in a hurry as I go to the door and open it just wide enough for me to slide out. Flynn's truck pulls into a parking space about 20 feet away and I jog over to him before he can get out. Hey, I say just as he opens his door. He looks at me coldly for a moment before getting out and slamming the door shut.
Hey.
We stand there awkwardly for a full 10 seconds, but Flynn doesn't say anything. You need something?
Why do you think I'm here, Chase?
I shrug. I have no idea, Flynn. Flynn stares at me for a few more seconds as he chews at a toothpick in his mouth.
You were down by the lake.
That's a really weird thing to assume, Flynn. Flynn scoffs.
Don't play with me. I see ambulance lights over by the lake, and 10 minutes later I'm getting a text from Carl telling me he hurt his leg.
Really, Flynn? People go down to the lake all the time. It could have been anyone.
No one goes down by the lake. I know you've been sneaking around the town doing shady shit with Tej and Jen.
I keep on a straight face, refusing to crack under Flynn's pressure.
The only reason I didn't ask you what the fuck you were doing is because I know you all hate me right now. But if you really went down there together, that's fucked.
Why is that fucked, Flynn? Because you decided it's off limits for everyone else because it makes you feel bad? Fuck off. Flynn's eyes widen for a moment.
Do not fuck with me on this, Chase. You know that's the last thing I want to hear from you.
It's strange how I feel right now. Normally I'd be trying to calm the lizard, try to talk him through his temper and past trauma, but now I don't care. Just like with Carl, I don't care how far this goes. This is his fault in the end. I can't believe you, Flynn. You start this whole thing, and now you're trying to act like the victim. It's fucking disgusting. Flynn gives me a baffled look.
What are you talking about? You mean what I said by the river?
Actually, yeah. That was probably the start of it.
How does that lead to you assholes fucking around by the lake?
You know exactly how. I watch Flynn carefully, trying to see if I can sense anything in his demeanor and in his expressions. I've never really known him to lie, but if he's lying right now, then he's fucking amazing at it, because all I can sense is bewilderment. He must have a lot of experience with lying.
Chase, what the fuck is up with you right now?
What do you mean?
You're acting like an ass.
Oh, so now you know how we all feel when you talk to us. Flynn stares at me, studying me. Then he looks up.
Who's here?
No one.
The fuck? Where's Tej and Jenna?
Not here. Flynn glances down at me.
Well, I gotta take a piss, so can I come in?
No. We stare each other down for a long, long time. Finally, Flynn pushes past me.
Well, I'm gonna give the door a knock to see if anyone's there. Maybe you missed him.
I whirl around and follow him angrily. He doesn't want to talk to you. Flynn turns on me.
Oh, so Tej's here then. Why didn't you tell me that?
Why do you think? Flynn, you need to leave right now. Flynn glares down at me.
I know you guys are up to something having to do with Sydney. If that's the case, then I have every right to know.
Flynn starts walking again.
And he has every right to talk to me himself.
I dart around Flynn and stand in front of the lizard, glaring up at him, bracing myself once again.
Get out of my way, Chase.
Leave him alone. Flynn pauses.
All I want to do is talk. That's it.
I let out a mirthless laugh. After what you did at the river? Hell no. Flynn tries to push around me again. I grab his arm. He swings, trying to yank it back, and I shove him back towards his truck. Leave! I'd be yelling right now, but I don't want TJ to hear us through the thin motel walls.
Don't fucking touch me! Get out of my fucking way!
He tries again, and this time I grab his arm and yank him away, swinging him like Leo did at the river. He might be tall, but I'm kind of amazed at how easily I can manipulate Flynn's body like a mannequin. Either that, or I just don't know my own strength. Flynn rolls with a curse and immediately pops back up, taking an awkward swing at my head.
Fucking little prick!
I duck his punch and tackle him around the waist, knocking both of us to the asphalt as Flynn grunts loudly.
Oh!
I scramble on top of the lizard and sit on his chest, pinning his arms under my knees. Again, he can barely move under me. Weak. I snarl down at him, raising a fist. Flynn flinches, closing his eyes and turning his head away. I pause, letting the tension build. Finally, I lower it. Leave, Flynn. Otherwise, I'm gonna cave your fucking face in. Tired of you bullying TJ and taking out all your problems on the rest of us, and just being a miserable piece of shit all of your life. I keep my voice low, almost growling like a canine. Flynn cracks open an eye, looking up at me in fear. I fucking hate you. I always have. You deserve to have every single one of your fucking teeth knocked out for the way you've always treated us. I look back toward the door, but it's closed. Quiet. I look back down at Flynn. Leave. And I never want to see your ugly fucking face ever again. Understand? Flynn just stares up at me. I can see the fear still, maybe even a little hurt.
What happened, Chase?
I don't say anything. I know he isn't going to fight anymore. I get up and Flynn lays there for a moment, staring at me. Finally, he rolls over and gets to his feet unsteadily. Then, without a word, he gets back into his truck and starts it up. I turn away finally, hearing the lizard pull out of the parking lot as I open the door to the motel. I'm relieved to see TJ sitting on the bed, looking down at his phone. I was positive that he'd heard something. He looks up when he hears the door open.
Hey,
Hey, Tej.
what did she say?
Carl's good. The doctors are checking him out. She said you're fine and that she understands why you did it, but I guess she's a little stressed out too because she's going to a friend's house in Peyton. Oh. TJ's ears lower. I think she just wants to give you space. Maybe. I did get a text from Julian. Oh, really? There's a twinge of irritation. Yeah. Said he was gonna stop by after he drops off Carl. I was thinking we could wait until then before we leave to talk to Julian at least. I don't think Carl wants to see me. Oh, okay. I try not to let the anger creep into my voice as I sit down on the bed next to the lynx.
And Chase?
Yeah? TJ smiles at me through his puffy eyes and matted cheek fur.
Thank you for being there for me.
It means a lot. It's late afternoon by the time Julian arrives to pick us up from the motel. Things are predictably awkward at first as the stag drives us out of the town in silence. I'm just happy that I've managed to sit between him and TJ again, leaving the lynx to stare out his window as the desert landscape passes by. I watch Julian as his thumbs tap idly at the steering wheel before he suddenly sits up straight. Oh, Chase, you left your camera in the truck bed yesterday. I forgot to tell you. He glances over at me and I nod. Oh, yeah. Probably shouldn't have remembered that. Do you want me to pull over so you can grab it out? I don't know how you feel about it sliding around back there while we're on the highway. I shrug. Should be fine. It's probably been through worse considering it's a crap rental from the university. Ah. Julian starts tapping away at the steering wheel again. So, your friend seems okay. He'll need to rest for a few months to recover, but he didn't seem too worried about that. I snort. Of course not. Yeah. Anyways, what was it you guys wanted to do? Julian leans forward a bit to glance at TJ. I just wish he'd keep his fucking eyes on the road. I nudge the lynx and he snaps his gaze from the window to look at us.
Huh?
I was asking you what you wanted to do tonight, TJ.
I'm not really sure. We could go see a movie, maybe.
Anything that you guys wanted to see?
Not really.
You know, I used to do this thing where I'd get a random ticket to a movie I'd never seen before. I'd have no expectations, so usually I'd be pleasantly surprised.
Oh, that sounds kind of fun, as long as it's not R-rated.
Yeah, so the way I do... Why don't we go to the family plex? I cut Julian off, looking over at TJ.
The family plex?
Yeah, you remember that place, right? We go there as kids for birthdays and stuff. The old run-down arcade thing at the mall? Yeah. TJ seems to perk up a bit.
Haven't been there for like 10 years. That could be a lot of fun.
If it's still open. I haven't been to that corner of the mall in a long time. It is. Well, alright then. So, should we go there? There's a moment of silence before TJ shifts next to me.
Yeah, let's do that.
The family plex is basically as I remember it. Like TJ had said, a good decade had passed since we'd been there. Maybe more. But the ugly stained carpet and sickly colored walls still covered the place. A real relic of the 80s and 90s. Still, I'm happy to see TJ smile as we walk in, his adorable wide eyes scanning the place as I'm sure he's hit with that same sense of nostalgia.
Oh my gosh, everything is exactly the same.
The look on Julian's face is slightly less enthusiastic. It even smells the same.
I kind of like it, actually. Reminds me of a movie theater.
Same. It's really just the popcorn and recycled air from the AC. I realized then what a fucking stick in the mud Julian is, but I ignore him, instead following TJ as we make our way to the machines. Luckily, the place is mostly empty. There's a group of teenagers being loud and annoying over by the air hockey tables, but otherwise we have the place to ourselves. For a moment, we just stand there, then Julian reaches into his pocket. You guys want to chip in some money, and I can go get us a few rolls of quarters? I take out a 5, and so does Julian, while TJ hands over a 10. Wow, Tej, that's a lot.
I only have 10s. Besides, we'll go through them fast. We always do.
Julian walks off to the front counter while TJ and I wait awkwardly next to the skee-ball ramp. I feel like things wouldn't be so tense if Julian wasn't here. I feel myself getting progressively annoyed by his presence. I'm about to ask TJ how he feels when Julian comes back with 2 rolls of quarters. So, we have 2 rolls. You want me to count out your shares, or... I shake my head. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, we're just here to hang out anyway.
TJ takes one of the rolls and tears off one end.
You guys want a skee ball?
Sure! You know, I've always been pretty good with this game. I take the opened roll of quarters from TJ and take out one of my own, inserting it into the neighboring skee-ball machines. There are only 2, and I kind of hope that Julian might just wander away, but he stays right there behind TJ, watching. I sigh and insert my coin, watching as the little balls roll out into the little compartment. Meanwhile, TJ is having a terrible time. Each one of his balls rolling into the scoreless gutter. I roll my first ball and watch as it misses the 40 and rolls into the 10 gutter. Oh, don't worry about it, Tej. You want me to show you how? Julian moves next to me and I grit my teeth on annoyance, moving over a bit. The stag flicks the ball expertly down the ramp and it lands squarely in the 40.
Wow! On your first try, too?
Honestly, I'm out of practice, but usually I go for the 100s in the corner.
How do you do it?
Well... Julian grabs a hold of TJ's wrist and I feel my fur starting to stand up on my neck and shoulders. It's all in the wrists. He moves TJ's arm forward before bending to Lynx's wrist.
Oh, I see.
TJ tries again and this time gets to 10, but on his second try he lands it in the 50. Nice! Julian holds up his paw and TJ slaps it loudly. The stag laughs, then looks over at me. You all right, Chase? You still got 4 balls. Without a word, I turn back to my machine and huck the balls down the ramp, each one landing in the gutter. Meanwhile, I listen to Julian and TJ celebrate another 50. For the rest of the night, I followed TJ and Julian around, the stag showing the cat how best to play the games. All the while, I stand next to them, dumping my quarters into games I don't even finish. I just want us to run out so we can leave. The drive back is quiet and tense. TJ and Julian asked me multiple times at the familyplex if I was alright until I finally told them I just had a headache. That stopped their questioning for the most part, and luckily that prompted TJ to propose we just go back to the motel. I tense up again when he offers Julian to spend the night there, but luckily the stag declines, wanting to go back home to his own bed. As we drive, I notice TJ nodding off, his head bumping the glass of his window. You can lean against me, Tej. TJ's ears flick, flushing a bit.
Oh, really? I mean, I don't wanna.
As an answer, I reach over to clasp the side of TJ's face before I force the lynx's head to lean sideways against my shoulder. TJ stiffens up, but then he relaxes, and 5 minutes later I can tell that he's fallen into a light sleep. Julian glances over at us occasionally, but doesn't say anything. I lean my cheek against the top of TJ's head. I realize how good it feels to sort of envelop him like this. Feels like I'm protecting him. All those bad, tense feelings from the arcade start to melt away. Pretty soon, I start to drift off as well, the smooth drone of the highway lulling me to sleep. Open my eyes and see the back of a rusty, white sedan pulled off on the side of the road. Julian's pulling off as well, behind the car. The sun's already getting low in the sky, a little bit of cloud cover rolling in from the west. That's when I realize there is a large coyote standing next to the car, leaned over and looking at the front left wheel. She stands up when her headlights hit her, and she shields her eyes against the light. Janice. Julian shuts his headlights off. Looks like she's got a flat. TJ wakes up, and I'm a bit disappointed to feel him shift off my shoulder.
What's going on?
Julian's already hopping out of the car, walking up to the now grinning Janice as she sets her paws on her hips.
Well, now what are you doing out here, Julian?
I can hear her loud, obnoxious voice even with the doors closed. Janice has a flat. Want to go back to sleep until Julian's helped her? TJ shakes his head, shifting himself to open the door and hop out. I sigh as he leaves, pushing myself across the seat to jump out as well.
Chase and Tobias too?
She turns her psychotic grin on us. Yeah, we were having a night out. Anyway, do you need any help?
Well, you know, Julian, I actually do. I don't have my own jack. Been missing for the past 15 years. Ha ha!
Julian smiles back warmly.
Well, I've got one. Do you have a spare? Yep, in the back. Hope it's not too flat, too. Haven't had to use that thing in a while.
Well, go ahead and pop the trunk and we'll see what we've got. I'll go get my jack. Julian jogs back to the truck while TJ and I stand behind Janice's car. Sadly, that's when the old coyote turns her attention on us.
Well, how are you two doing this evening? I'm doing well, thanks.
I want to thank you again for doing all that yard work during your vacation.
It seems I'm always out here just needing help. Oh, it was no trouble at all, ma'am.
I'm happy to let TJ do the talking, just wanting to get this all over with as soon as possible so that we can head back to the motel. I squint as Julian's headlights come back on and he hops out of his truck. Just want to give us a little more light. Janice pops the trunk and lifts it up, revealing a cluttered mess inside. She brushes it all aside and lifts up the flap, revealing an old rusty spare tire. She nudges at it, testing the air pressure before lifting it out.
Well, it's a little deflated, but it should be enough to get me to Duke's house. I know he's got a few tires I can probably use. If not, I'll just get him to drive me out and buy me one.
Julian kneels down next to Janice's car, setting up the jack. We stand there in silence for a bit, watching the stag as he works.
Speaking of your vacation, it wasn't really a vacation for you, was it, Chase?
My heart sinks a bit as the dumb yolt turns her attention directly on me. I grunt politely in question, keeping my gaze on Julian to show Janice that I'm definitely not interested in what she has to say.
Well, that grumpy lizard Flynn was telling me about it in the diner a few days back. Something about you wanting to document the spooky stuff in town.
Oh, yeah. I try to think of a way to keep things uninteresting so she doesn't ask any more questions. Sorta. Mainly, I just wanted to find some information on a murder that happened like 100 years ago. Couldn't find much out.
Oh. Flynn made it sound more like one of those ghost documentaries that I like to watch sometimes. I had a few stories for you.
I keep my eyes firmly on Julian's paw as he starts to crank the jack. Then TJ nudges me. Hey, are there any rules against it being a ghost documentary? I sigh, though I try to keep it quiet for TJ's sake. Well, it's more of a news piece, so a ghost story wouldn't really work, I don't think. Actually, I've seen segments on the news about ghosts. I don't know if they're serious, but when someone catches something on camera, sometimes they'll play it. I shrug. Well, even if that is the case, it probably won't get me a very good grade. It's better than no grade at all. TJ smiles encouragingly at me, and I can't help but smile back. He always had a way of cheering me up, no matter how bad of a mood I'm in.
That's the spirit. Besides, could just be about the history of it rather than making it seem real, even if it is real.
I sigh again, though this time I don't really try to cover it up. Janice either doesn't notice or doesn't care.
So, would you like to hear?
Yeah. Let me grab my notepad real quick. Walk over to Julian's truck, listening to Janice as she babbles excitedly to TJ about how scary it is. I try to unzip the bag, but the ledge of the truck bed is too tall, so I have to grab the whole fucking thing and trudge it back over to the car. I unzip the side pocket and pull out my notepad and pen, and then stand up straight and look at Janice expectantly. Cody sits on the ledge of the trunk, making the car shift. Julian pauses, eyes wide, as I'm sure he thought the sedan was about to topple off the jack.
Well, let's see. I can start with what my grandpa told me.
Yeah, that works.
Actually, that's great because this happened right here in these very woods.
Janice gestures off the side of the road at the trees.
So my grandpa was taking a walk in there with my grandma in, I want to say sometime in the 40s, right after they were married. They were walking along one of the little trails in there. And as they were, they started hearing this strange sound in the trees, like something scuttling up and down the branches. They kept looking, but couldn't see anything.
TJ hugs himself and rubs his arms with his paws. Wow, that's creepy.
Oh, that ain't the half of it, Tobias. The thing is, as they kept walking, those sounds followed them, and then...
Janice lowers her voice, and despite my annoyance, I have to draw in a bit closer to hear her next words.
They started to hear it talk.
Hear what talk? TJ is fully drawn in by Janice's theatrics. I have to struggle not to roll my eyes.
Well, whatever it was, it started talking down to them.
Janice pauses and glances at me, and I make sure not to give her anything, staring glassy-eyed at my notepad.
What did it say? Well, Just strange things like, "You're here," and "I see you." Though my grandpa said he wasn't sure it was talking to them, really. He said that when it started to just laugh, that's when he and Grandma started running. Even then, it followed them. He said it sounded like it was rising in the air and landing from tree to tree, following them until they got out. At this point, TJ's just frowning, and I have to force myself to jot down the stupid notes.
Well, was that it?
Janice shrugs. Don't know. Grandpa only told me the story once when he wouldn't go on a family walk in the forest. I asked him why, and he told me. I asked Grandma too, but she just pretended she couldn't hear me. Thing is, my grandpa's not a liar. That I can promise you. I scribble in the notepad, pretending to write this all down. Oh, he also said it sounded mechanical, like it was coming through a machine or a computer. That's weird, 'cause they didn't really have those back then. A moment of silence goes by as I wait for Janice to go on. When she doesn't, I look up.
So, that's it?
Well, yeah. Did you think they'd actually say something?
I shrug. Anything else?
Janice thinks. Well, there's this bear up the road named Brian. One time he told me a story about seeing some aliens around here, UFOs and such. This time I can't stop my eyes from rolling, but again, Janice either doesn't see or ignores it. Said back when he was a teenager, he saw a flying saucer as he was passing by the lake. I don't even bother to move my pen, but Janice just keeps going. You know, when I was listening to this podcast a while back, you know those radio shows on the internet?
Oh, yeah, I love listening to those when I work out.
Well, there's this paranormal one I listened to that really goes in depth on this kind of stuff. And you know, we've all heard the story about gold in a quartz deposit? Yep. Well,
Janice lowers her voice, leaning in like she's discovered the best kept secret in the entire world.
In the podcast, they were going on about how places with lots of quartz end up being more haunted. You know why?
I don't say anything, so TJ chimes in.
Why? Well, the quartz captures stuff from the past, like really emotional, angry stuff, and sometimes, when things line up just right, they play it back. Only when they do, it's all twisted up and mixed with other stuff. Makes what you see really awful and horrible looking. But you know...
Janice pauses again.
What? I think there's more to it than that. I think there's something with a conscious mind behind it all here in Echo.
I finally have to break in.
Has anything happened to you specifically?
You know, it's better if I have something straight from the source rather than secondhand. Janice finally goes quiet then, eyes looking down to look at the ground. Julian, meanwhile, has pulled off the tire and is fitting the spare in place.
Well, maybe.
I grit my teeth. What do you mean?
Janice lets out a soft, mirthless chuckle. Let's just say I've seen things I've promised not to tell anyone about, Chase.
I can't tell if she's joking or not, so I just go along with it. Oh, you order a hit on someone?
Maybe, Chase.
TJ stands there, a mortified expression on his face. I look down at my camera bag. Well, I think it might be good to get some footage of the trees in there while there's still a little light. If I'm gonna do the whole ghost story thing, then I might give it a horror movie vibe.
Oh, well, that sounds wonderfully spooky.
I start towards the tree line, then look back at TJ. You want to come with?
Oh,
TJ looks back at Janice and Julian, the latter of which is screwing in the tire.
go on, TJ. Give him some company in there, especially after I told you all that story.
Janice cackles, causing the car to shake again.
Besides, I don't mind keeping Julian company in the meantime.
Julian grunts as he keeps his focus on the tire.
Well, okay.